everybody, it's JT Sports. I'm back to you guys with another video. This video I'm here with my Detroit Lions versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Week 4 NFL preview and prediction. Going to be previewing this matchup and giving my prediction for who will win this game. Now before I begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Upload NFL videos and college football videos daily. And also make sure to follow me down on my social media accounts down in the comment section and description down below. My Instagram is JT Sports _ and my Twitter is JT Sports _ as well. So both of these teams going into this matchup are undefeated. Kansas City is 3-0 coming off of a very solid win versus the Baltimore Ravens. And the Detroit Lions are 2-0-1. They haven't taken a loss yet. They only topped the Arizona Cardinals, which was a couple of weeks ago in that week 1 matchup when they tied with the Cardinals in overtime. So both of these teams are coming off very solid wins. The Chiefs, like I said earlier, just got done beating the Baltimore Ravens, and the Detroit Lions just came off of a win versus the Philadelphia Eagles. So like I said, both of these teams haven't taken a loss yet. And for the Kansas City Chiefs, man, if you're the Detroit Lions, this is going to be a very big game for the Detroit Lions. And I mean, this is basically a playoff game, even though the playoffs hasn't started. But this game is going to kind of have a playoff feel to it, because I mean, a lot of things are at stake for the Detroit Lions. I mean, and if you're looking at the NFC North, I mean, the NFC North is fairly competitive. I mean, Minnesota is looking very good. Green Bay is looking very good. And I mean, the Detroit Lions, I mean, they're going to have to end up facing those teams in a couple of weeks. And, I mean, if you're the Detroit Lions, you really want to win this game. And if you win this game, you end up going 3-0-1, which looks very good in a very tough division. Not only do you have the Minnesota Vikings and Green Bay Packers, but I forgot to mention the Chicago Bears as well. So this division is going to be very, very competitive. It's going to be very close, so every game matters. So if you're the Detroit Lions, then you definitely have to win this game. Now, if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you have a little bit more room for error. If you lose this game, it doesn't really set you back in the division, because the LA Chargers, they have struggled coming out of the gates early. The Broncos are the Denver Broncos, and the Oakland Raiders are basically the Oakland Raiders. So if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, if you lose this game, then you have a little bit more room for victory, since your division hasn't really been that good so far since the start of the season. But if you're the Detroit Lions, then you definitely, this is a big game that the Detroit Lions most definitely want to end up winning, with how competitive this division has been so far. So for the Kansas City Chiefs, I mean, the offense has been looking very impressive. I mean, the offense has put up 30 points with ease on some of the best defenses in the NFL. The Jacksonville Jaguars and the Baltimore Ravens both have top 10 defenses. Maybe you can argue that one of those teams has a top 5 defense, but both of those teams have very elite defenses. So the fact that the Kansas City Chiefs just dropped 30 points on those two great defenses with ease kind of worries me if you're the Detroit Lions. But with Matt Patricia being a defensive-minded coach, I expect this defense to be very much well up to the task of finding out a way to stop this Kansas City Chiefs offense, because it's not going to be an easy task. I mean, they just dropped 30 on the Baltimore Ravens. They made their secondary look like absolute garbage. And I mean, that's very surprising, since the Baltimore Ravens have one of the best secondaries in the NFL. So the fact that Kansas City just went in there and made their secondary look non-existent is a little bit worrisome. And also what they did to the Jacksonville Jaguars defense. I mean, this is a Jacksonville Jaguars defense. Although the Jaguars didn't make it to the playoffs last season, this was still a top 5 defense last year for the Jacksonville Jaguars. So I mean, if you're the Detroit Lions, you're going to have your hands full. You're going to have to find a way, with Matt Patricia being a defensive-minded coach. He's going to have to be able to coach up this Detroit Lions defense, and they're going to have to find out ways to stop Patrick Mahomes and this Kansas City Chiefs offense. Now, that's easier said than done, but I mean, with Matt Patricia being a defensive-minded coach, if you're a defensive-minded coach, this is what I expect. If you're a head coach and you specialize in a certain area, like say, for example, if you're an offensive-minded coach, then you should find out ways to get the offense, being able to help the offense score points. And if you're a defensive-minded coach, then you should be able to coach up the defense and figure out ways to stop explosive offenses like this. Because basically, Matt Patricia needs to win games like this. I mean, if you're a defensive-minded coach, you need to find out ways to stop explosive offenses. You can't be a defensive-minded coach and not find out ways to stop explosive offenses. So, I mean, they at least need to keep Kansas City from scoring 30 points. At least do that. So, I mean, Detroit and Matt Patricia, they're going to have to come out with a very good game plan, and they want to be able to win this game. Now, I know Kansas City has a couple of guys out, but, I mean, if you're the Detroit Lions, you can't rely on having guys like Tyreek Hill and guys on the Kansas City Chiefs team being out to win this game, because this isn't Philadelphia. This is the Kansas City Chiefs, and we've seen what that offense can do. They basically just put in anybody, and they just automatically still keep up the same production that they had before they had the little bit of injuries that they had. So if you're the Detroit Lions, you can't rely on injuries to win this game. So if you're Detroit, you're going to have to come off a good game plan, and Matt Patricia is going to have this defense ready to go and coached up and find out a way to stop this Kansas City Chiefs defense, because he's a defensive-minded coach. So I expect him to come out with a way to find a way to contain Patrick Mahomes and find out a way to stop this Kansas City Chiefs offense. Now, I'm not saying that they're going to shut Kansas City down for like 10 points or 17 points or something like that, but I expect Kansas City not to put up 30 points in this game with Matt Patricia's background as a defensive-minded coach. So getting into my keys to victory, what each of these teams is doing able to have a chance to win this game. If you're the Detroit Lions, then you need to be able to run the football. The Baltimore Ravens had a lot of success last week running the football between Lamar Jackson and Mark Ingram. So if you're the Detroit Lions looking at this matchup, Kansas City's front seven or the defensive line isn't as good as the previous defensive lines you guys have faced, specifically the Philadelphia Eagles. The defensive line isn't that good as the Chargers as well. So this is probably the most favorable matchup you're going to get up front out of all the teams that you're probably going to end up playing this season. Now, Kansas City, they do have Frank Clark and a couple of other guys, but I mean, I'm not expecting those guys to have a huge major impact like the couple of defensive lines you guys have faced and the LA Chargers and the Philadelphia Eagles. So in terms of where the Kansas City Chiefs defensive line ranks compared to those defensive lines from the Chargers and the Philadelphia Eagles, they're nowhere on their level or either close. But they still have a pretty solid front seven when you look at their linebackers and things like that. So if you're Detroit, you got to be able to run the football. You got to be able to control time possession, and you want to keep Kansas City's offense off the field, even though Kansas City's offense can score calling any play at any time or any time during the game. But I mean, you still want to try to keep Patrick Mahomes off the field and tire out this defense. Now, next thing Detroit needs to do is they need to limit turnovers. Turnovers is a big thing when it comes to playing a team like Kansas City with how explosive their offense is, and you don't want to have your defense on the field for too many plays that lets Kansas City just get them gas and then ends up letting them do whatever they want to them. So if you're the Detroit Lions, you want to keep Kansas City from getting any extra possessions in this game. I mean, we already know how explosive their offense is, and do you really want to give them the ball, giving them extra opportunities to score with how explosive their offense is? So you want to limit turnovers in this game, and you also want to limit big pass plays. Kansas City is a team that's very explosive throwing the football. I mean, they can score a touchdown calling any play. Doesn't matter which down. They can score on second down, first down, third down. It doesn't matter the down. It doesn't matter the distance. These guys can score a touchdown at any point during the game. So if you're Detroit, you want to limit the big pass plays, and you just want to kind of keep everything in front of you. And the last thing they need to do is they need to be able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. I mean, a lot of teams have struggled finding out getting pressure on Patrick Mahomes and getting Patrick Mahomes down to the ground. And if you're the Detroit Lions, you have guys like Trey Flowers up front. So, I mean, you're paying Trey Flowers a lot of money. So with him getting the money that he's getting paid, I expect him to have a significant impact in this game if the Detroit Lions want to end up winning this game. And also the guys who they also have up front as well. They got a lot of good guys on front. This is a very good interior defensive line, probably top 5 in the NFL. So they need to be able to get pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Now, what Kansas City needs to be able to do to win this game, they need to be able to get pressure on Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford against the Philadelphia Eagles, he didn't get sacked at all. He went untouched, and it's a big reason why this Detroit Lions wide receiving core and Matthew Stafford absolutely tore apart this Philadelphia Eagles secondary because they were unable to get pressure and they were unable to sack Matthew Stafford. So if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to have to be able to get Matthew Stafford. You don't want to give Matthew Stafford time to get back there and dissect your defense, and your secondary is still a little bit of a question mark as well. So I mean, you don't want to give Matthew Stafford all day to throw. You want to make it hard for him to sit back there in the pocket, and you want to make it hard for him to complete some passes. And I mean, this guy didn't even get sacked last week versus the Philadelphia Eagles, which was a big surprise because this Detroit Lions offensive line that has its problems. So the fact that Matthew Stafford didn't get sacked at all is a little bit of a win for the Detroit Lions. But if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you're going to have to get pressure on Matthew Stafford. You don't want to give this guy all day to throw. And then next thing they need to do is you need to be able to stop Kerryon Johnson. Now the Detroit Lions gave Kerryon Johnson 20 carries last week. He also caught a couple of passes as well. So I mean, Kerryon Johnson is a guy in this game, he's probably going to get a significant amount of touches, but if you want to win this game, if you're Kansas City, then you want to stop Kerryon Johnson, because you stop Kerryon Johnson and just stop the run game in total, then you're going to force Matthew Stafford to have to win the game through the air. And since Kansas City, I think they're a much better team when it comes to getting after the passer, since I believe they were top 5 in the NFL in sacks the last 2 seasons. Since they're very solid getting after the quarterback, you want Matthew Stafford to drop back and pass and tear off those pass rushers like Frank Clark that you have in your team, since that's the strength of your team. Well, strength of your defense is getting after the quarterback. And the last thing that the Kansas City Chiefs need to be able to do is no turnovers. The Detroit Lions they're 2-0-1, but a big reason why they haven't taken a loss yet is because they're very optimistic. They get turnovers at the right time. I mean, against the Chargers a couple of weeks ago, Austin Ekeler fumbled inside the red zone. Detroit scooped the ball up. Then last week you had Nelson Agholor fumbling the ball and things like that. So Detroit is a very optimistic team, and they're very good at scoring points off turnovers as well. And that's something that I've noticed about Detroit. They're a very optimistic team, and they're very good at forcing turnovers. So if you're Kansas City, you do not want to give the Detroit Lions the ball. Same thing with the Detroit Lions. You don't want to give Kansas City the ball, because both of these teams are very optimistic, and both of these offenses can make you pay with turning the ball over. So if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, no turnovers, because Detroit, the big reason why Detroit is 2-0 and only has a tie because they're very good at forcing turnovers, and they're very optimistic. They get turnovers at the exactly right time. So the team that I'm going with to win this game, this is very tough for me. Very, very tough. Very tough. Very tough. I want to go with Detroit, but I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I know Kansas City is going to be on the road at Detroit, but I just don't see this Detroit defense stopping the Kansas City Chiefs offense. And I mean, can Kansas City's defense get some stops on the Detroit Lions? We don't know. But I'm going to trust Kansas City's offense to win this game, because I mean, can you really blame me? I mean, this is the same offense that put 30 on Jacksonville fully healthy. They put 30 on Baltimore's defense fully healthy. These are two of the best defense that we have in the NFL, and Kansas City just went out there and put 30 on them with ease. So I mean, I'm going with Kansas City to win this game. I think Kansas City wins this game very closely. I think Kansas City wins this game 27-21 is my final score prediction. So that's it for my Detroit Lions versus Kansas City Chiefs preview and prediction. Let me know what you guys think about it down in the comment section down below. Who you guys think is going to win this game. Also, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel for more NFL videos and college football videos. And thanks for watching.